warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. On this occasion, I will present an essay that I have made with the title Improving Critical Thinking Skill of Junior High School by Using Pet Simulation Media in Science Learning, a literature review. Previously, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alya Fitri Indriyani with the student registration number 40014200009. I'm from the Science Education Study Program. In this presentation, the point that will be discussed are the introduction, method, result and discussion, conclusion, and references that I use in compiling this essay. The first is the introduction. We know that the development of the times make all aspects of life must be able to follow so as not to fall behind. One of them is in the aspect of education. Education in Indonesia makes effort to be able to keep up with the times by implementing the 2013 curriculum. According to Prima et al., 2018 state that the 2013 curriculum has characteristics including student-centered, learning independently and by group, and has a critical thinking skill. Therefore, based on the characteristic of the 2013 curriculum, a student must have critical thinking skill. Unfortunately, critical thinking skill in Indonesia are still very low. This is evidenced by the 2018 PISA result, which show Indonesia is ranked 62 out of 71 countries. From the graph, we can see that the bottom countries are based on the result of the PISA 2018 survey, and Indonesia included in it. Even Indonesia is under Thailand. For the result themselves in the field of science, Indonesia got a score of 395, where the low score in the field of science show that critical thinking skill in Indonesia are still low. Therefore, in the science learning process, effort are needed to improving critical thinking skill. One of which is using pet simulation. So the purpose of preparing this essay is to determine the effectiveness of using pet simulation in improving critical thinking skill. For two methods, the method I used in compiling this article was a literature study. The literature used is the result of research published with the Google Scholar. The step taken in the preparation of this article are first search for the appropriate article using Google Scholar to preparation of article. Secondly, analyzing the notion of critical thinking skill. Thirdly, analyzing the effectiveness of pet simulation in improving critical thinking skill. Fourth, analyzing the advantage and disadvantage of pet simulation in learning. And finally, the conclusion is presented in this article. For to result and discussion, for A, what is critical thinking skill? Critical thinking skill is the ability that a person has in solving a problem systematically. Manuel Anugrahini 2020 defines that critical thinking skill is a process that is carried out by a person to the person in solving problem rationally and systematically so that someone can take the right dedication on these problems. In developing critical thinking skill, you must go through certain stage. According to Sari et al. 2021, the stage consists of compiling, studying, considering, and evaluating a problem. In learning science, critical thinking skill can increase with help of PET simulation. B. Why critical thinking can increase using PET simulation? PET simulation, we know that PET simulation is software that can be used by students in the science learning. The use of PET simulation in the learning process can improve abilities critical thinking for several reasons. Namely, the first reason is because the software provides an attractive visual display that will encourage students to try and explore it. The effectiveness of students in finding out a material concept using the simulation will encourage students to think critically, according to Wicaksono et al. 2020. The second reason is that the PET simulation will stimulate students to think critically because the PET simulation is presented interactively, so that it will make a student active and interested in participating in learning, according Sunni et al. 2040. The third reason is in the PET simulation display, there are many objects that can be used in learning. For example, in electrical circuit experiment, there are resistors, batteries, switches, voltmeter, lights, and other. Objects in this simulation PET will make students active in assembling an electrical circuit. Then students do an analysis to find the amount of current or voltage in the electrical circuit. This analysis activity will encourage students to understand the concept of calculating the electric circuit, according to Wicaksono et al. 2020. For C, the advantage of using PET simulation in learning. Use of PET simulation in general can be used as a media in the learning process. The use of PET simulation in learning had advantage. Like that, PET simulation will help students understand abstract concept, according to Rizalti et al. 2020. So, improve student critical thinking skill and reminder about science learning, according Wicaksono 2020. Number 3, increase student motivation and interest in science learning, according Taufik 2020. For facilitate the science learning process that cannot be observed directly, according Kurniawan 2020. 5. Stimulate students to think perspective in solving problems, according Prihatin Tias 2013. For the disadvantage using PET simulation, A student cannot do directly practicum carried out. According Kurniawan 2020, limited future because it has been done according to programming. According Carlson et al. 2013. For number 3, practicum, using a pet simulation cannot give a tense sensation like during a live practicum, according Rizaldi et al. 2020. For conclusion from this article, can be concluded that critical thinking skill can be improved by utilizing the pet simulation media in science learning. This is because students are directed to be active in exploring object in the simulation. Here are the references I used in compiling this essay. That's the presentation that I can do. If you have a question, you can raise a hand or directly open the mic. Okay, Lisa, please.
Okay, permission to ask. From the explanation you have given, it is that the habit of critical thinking has benefit for students to remember the subject matter. Why does it happen?
Okay, thanks in advance for the question. Well, I will answer the question. The habit of critical thinking in carrying out the learning process is very useful for improving the ability to remember the subject matter. This is because basically in improving critical thinking skill, one must to go through several stages so that a problem can be resolved. In the learning process itself, the ability to think critically is obtained through a learning process that is analytical in natural, so that the concept of the problem is obtained from the learning material. In the PAT simulation, students are led to do several stages so that a student can solve the experiment that will be carried out. This will encourage students indirectly to remember the steps that have been passed to complete the experiment carried out so that students will gain an understanding of the concept of the material. This will create its own memory in students so that they remember the material being studied. Like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next question. Okay, Tawallani, please ask the question.
Okay, Alya, I want to ask, in the PPT, it is written that one of the drawbacks of using PET is limited feature. The question is whether this deficiency hinder the improvement of critical thinking skill.
Okay, thanks for the question. I will try to answer it. In my opinion, these deficiencies do not hinder the process of improving critical thinking skill. This is because a student can still experiment and solve the problem given to be solved using this PET simulation. In terms of future limitation, the number is programmed so that a student cannot very large number. For example, in the Pelishing act simulation, where in this simulation the mass size has been programmed. It can only use a mass of less than 100 kilogram. But even so, critical thinking skill can still be improved when students can solve existing problems. Like that. Next question. Okay, Maya.
Okay. Based on the explanation that you have described, the use of pet simulation can improve critical thinking skill. And the question is, how do we know that student critical thinking skills are successful through the use of the pet simulation?
Okay, thanks for the question. Well, I will answer question for Maya. I think the way we know that the use of pet simulation is successful in making students have critical thinking skill is when the student can complete the experiment that have been carried out and can understanding from the material practice after thinking scientifically. Not only that, a student must also be able to explain the concept of the material from the experiment so that the results obtained are thoroughly obtained from their own understanding after conducting the experiment. Like that.
Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thanks for your question. So many presentation that I can do. If there are mistakes, I apologize. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Mr. Arif and Mrs. Stephanie, as well as all friends. This morning, I will present the result of my essay entitled The Influence of the Development of Integrated Science Learning Modules on Values and Critical Thinking of Junior High School Students. Previously, my name is Lisa Amelia Fajriyanti with student identification number 40014200014 from the Science Education Study Program, State University of Semarang. Okay, in this presentation, I will convey some of the points contained in my essay, including the introduction, method, result and discussion, conclusion, and finally the reference used. Okay, number one, point regarding the introduction. As we know, science learning in junior high school is an integrated learning according to the 2013 curriculum. Integrated learning has an understanding, namely learning that use method to unit some of the same material or relate to each other into one learning theme. Integrated science learning in school consists of physics, chemistry, biology, and others. The ongoing science learning in the classroom also has many obstacles, one of which is the lack of availability of teaching material. Therefore, one way to overcome these problems is to use a learning module for the purpose of this study, namely to determine the effect of the use of learning modules on student grades and critical thinking. Okay, then there is the method use. The method of collecting information use a literature study from several journals through Google Scholar, and the steps of this research are: number one, describe the meaning of science learning. Number two, describe the science learning module. Number three, analyzing an effect of the science learning module on the value and critical thinking of junior high school students. And then number four, draw conclusion from the research. Furthermore, the third point is the result of discussion. In this discussion, the first is explained about the meaning of natural science, which is the study of natural and all live in it. For integrated science learning in junior high school, the aim is to introduce local wisdom around students. In this science learning, in each class using different methods. One of the learning module is to use teaching material in the form of learning modules. With the learning module, can train students to be active during learning. In addition to using learning modules, learning in class will be more effective and efficient. Next, based on several studies conducted by several experts, the use of the integrated science learning module has a good influence on the development of junior high school students. Here are some research data that proves that the use of science learning module affect the grades and critical thinkings of junior high school students. Number one, with the title of the journal, Development of Integrated Science Learning Module, beside on Science Process Scale with the Rainbow Phenomenon theme, and author name or writer name, Istiqomah, Indika Yuna Okiranida, and Asep Setiadi, and the result is the use of science learning module at junior high school 2009 Jakarta increased student scores. Number two, with the title of the journal, Meta-analysis of the influence of the integrated science module on the learning outcomes of middle school students, with reader name Dwi Putri Rahmawati, Rini Amelia, and Asrizal. And the result is the effect of the application of the integrated science learning module in junior high school increased the grades and activity of students in class. Next, number three, with the title of the journal, Natural Science Modules, which sets approach to improve student critical thinking ability, with writer names APS Budi, W. Sunarno, and Sugiyarto, and the result is the use of science learning module affect critical thinking patterns and increase student grades. Next, from the table, it can be seen that learning modules increase student scores and can train student independence in learning. Another impact of using the science learning module is an increase in student grades and the development of student critical thinking. It is proven by students teach and during discussion. With active students, their thinking patterns will also be more developed and more critical in dealing with a problem, so that the use of the science learning module has an effect on student critical thinking patterns. And next point 4, there is a conclusion. Based on the analysis that has been done, it can be concluded that the integrated science learning module has an effect on the understanding of junior high school students. It is proven by the increase in the value of the student, the activeness of the student, and the student critical thinking patterns. In addition, this learning module can also train student independence and can overcome several obstacles that occur during the learning process, such as incomplete book contents and unattractive book design. This is some reference used in the preparation of essay. Well, that was my presentation. If you have any question, please raise hand. Okay, Maya, please ask the question.
Okay, thank you. My question is, it was mentioned earlier that the development of students' critical thinking pattern can be seen from change in their attitude. The question is, how can we know the change in their nature so that we know whether their critical thinking partner are developing?
Well, I will answer the question. To find out how the change in attitude of students whose critical thinking patterns develop can be seen by the activeness of students during learning. If the student is initially passive, then after using the learning module, they are active. Then the pattern of critical thinking can be said to have developed. The activity in question includes when there is a question and answer session with the teacher or a discussion. The student is always active, either asking, answer, and when working with their group. Okay, next question. Okay, Tawallani, please ask the question.
Okay, Lisa, I want to ask, from the presentation, it was said that the use of learning modules can affect student grades and critical thinking. And my question is, how can the student be interested in learning by using learning modules and not get bored easily?
Okay, I will answer the question. The way to make students interested and not easily bored when studying with learning modules is to use learning modules that have attractive design. The learning module should contain not only writing, but also interesting pictures that can make it easier for students to understand the meaning of the material. With interesting module, students will be interested and will not get bored quickly by reading this module. Like that. Okay, next question. Okay, Alya, please ask the question.
Thank you. I want to ask, why is it necessary to use integrated learning module for science learning in junior high school when there are many science textbooks around students?
Okay, I will answer the question. The use of integrated learning module for science learning in junior high school is very much needed. because the use of this module will have an effect on students, although the effect is not too big. Although there are many other books that can be used as learning resource, it is now based on the fact in the file that many books that are used acquired by teacher and student. Sorry. Although there are many other books that can be used as learning resource, it is now based on the fact in the file that many books that are used as acquired by teacher and student are not yet fully integrated, so that many lessons are still running independently. So that with the use of the integrated module, it will be more acceptable and understood by students. Like that.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Okay, that's enough presentation from me. More or less sorry, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the result of my review article entitled The Use of Simulation in Inquiry-Based Science Learning to Improve Critical Thinking Skill of Junior High School Students. Previously, my name is Putri Rahmawati with student identification number is 40014200037. In this presentation, I will cover several points contained in my essay, including the introduction, method, result and discussion, conclusion, and finally the reference. The first point is about introduction. Recently, the development of technology in the world of education is very rapid, such as the emergence of online or virtual learning, especially because of the COVID-19 outbreak, which requires online learning. There are several factors that affect student learning abilities. The first is the learning model used. This learning model will determine the success of students in understanding in concept of the material. The second, the teaching material used. The third, the limitation of facilities and experimental tools. And the fourth is the use of learning media. These factors are due to the educator with teach material abstractly and the low quality of learning, so that electronic device or media that have been developed are suitable to be used to overcome student misconceptions that occur during learning. Pistanto 2011 said that a form of activity is needed to change students in finding concepts in the teaching and learning process. Great inquiry learning focus on students to take an active role in solving the problem they face, and to overcome misconceptions and provide direct experience to their students. The use of inquiry in learning can develop student understanding of not only product, but also the process. This learning began with asking questions, seeking answers, understanding, and studying theory. In addition, the guided inquiry learning model is one of the effective learning models to increase student motivation, because students are actively involved in finding concept or understanding learning topic. The accuracy of student is also one of the advantages of the graded inquiry learning process. The next point is the method. This research method is a literature study. This review includes published research that discuss the use of graded inquiry-based learning model in science learning, with the help of paid simulation media to improve higher order critical skills and abilities in junior high school students. To analyze this review, I collected data and information for several views, journal, article, and paper related to the use of graded inquiry learning model with paid simulation media. The next point is result and discussion. The inquiry-based learning model includes a learning model which is an imitation of experiment approaching a real atmosphere with visual experiment, namely by using computer simulation media that is will be designed and more concrete. Because in addition to applying the right learning model, the use of learning media also affect the learning process. One example of simulation learning media that can be used is pet simulation. Pet simulation app is created by University of Colorado, USA. Pet simulation user can perform simulation for free anywhere and anytime via a computer or smartphone because it can be accessed online or offline. Advance of determination in science. The first, provide opportunities for students to interact dynamically and focus on exploring experiment. The second is presented in a concrete form and structure able to display objects in their entirety and clearly show the flow of the process. The third, pet user can perform simulation anywhere at any time via a computer or smartphone because it can be accessed online or offline. Fourth, it can provide some description of abstract concepts to encourage students to appreciate the learning concept they are learning. Fifth, provide direct experience to the viewer to display a lot of animation in it. The object in the real world is animated from something that does not look to be seen microscopic. Of the benefits that have been found that simulation can be combined using model in graded inquiry format can encourage students to think receptively and be able to formulate hypotheses independently, provide separated satisfaction for students, help students remember and grow basic concepts and ideas in the learning process. Here are some research results regarding the advance of using pet simulation that have been published. Study of Elisa et al. 2017. With the result is when students studying using pet simulation, they will feel comfortable, not bored quickly, and more fun so that student learning outcome can increase. The second, of sitting down et al. 2017, with the result is The critical thinking ability of students using pet simulation in the experimental class is higher than in the conventional class. The threat of Fitriani et al. 2016 with the result is pet involves students to develop more optimal critical thinking patterns that are used to analyze arguments, generate insight, and can make decisions from facts and data. The fourth of Najib 2015 with the result is pet simulation program in laboratory inquiry learning to improve student conceptual abilities and higher order thinking skill. And the last is a study from Moore et al. 2013 with the result the use of virtual lab in learning will be more accessible all time and safe to use in conducting experiments. Therefore, pet simulation is ideal when combined with an inquiry learning model. Guided inquiry learning assisted by pet simulation will train students higher order thinking skill and abilities. With the implementation of simulation in guided inquiry learning, students can learn independently so that the cognitive change that occur can be maximized. It also helps students find information or concept related to physical phenomena or events through an inquiry learning approach with the help of interesting illustration or animation. The last point is conclusion. Based on the analysis that has been done, it can be concluded that the use of pet simulation media in graded inquiry learning can be useful for increasing the critical attitude of junior high school students. With graded inquiry based learning assessed by pet simulation, students can play an active role in the learning process and experimentation to solve problems and overcome misconceptions and direct experience. With the development of the process, students will use their thinking skill. Furthermore, here are some for reference used in the preparation of Esai. Thank you. Well, that was my presentation. If you have any question, please raise hand. Okay, Tawallani, please ask the question.
Okay, Maya, permission to ask. Why use pet simulation can be used as a tool in the learning process of science?
Okay, I will answer the question. The use of pet simulation can be used as a tool in the science learning process because a lot of science learning that integrates material involves experiment or simulation concept to increase student understanding of the topic given by the teacher. On the other hand, this pet simulation is designed interactively and respond quickly to student interaction that occur and show many animation in it. Objects in the reward are animated to show that student can see the relationship between events that occur and existing knowledge. Therefore, students who learn to use speech simulation will feel comfortable while studying and will not give bored quickly and have more fun, so student learning outcome can increase. Like that. Okay. The next question. Please, Aya, ask the question.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask why in improving critical thinking skills students have use of with inquiry learning model in teaching?
Well, I will answer the question from Arya. The graded inquiry based learning model is an alternative learning model that aims to be able to form an active attitude of communication between teacher and student and to direct student development in the expected direction. This model was chosen because this model has the advantage of being able to accommodate students in practicing sustained process skill through the learning stage they have. Besides that, this model can also increase student motivation because students are actively involved and student curiosity is high in finding concept understanding of learning topic. That's all for me, like that.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Okay, well, I move on to the last question. Okay, Lisa, please ask the question.
Okay, permission to ask why the use of media in learning must also be adapted to the times.
Well, I will answer the question from Lisa. The use of media in learning must also be adapted to the times because the use of learning media will later affect the success of student in understanding the concept of the material and also be used to facilitate the teaching and learning process. So that in this area of rapidly developing technology as it is today, process learning must adapt to media technology-based learning such as the use of page simulation in learning like that. Okay, thank you to friends who have asked. That's my presentation and question and answer. I'm sorry if there are mistakes. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, all friends. This morning, I will present the result of my Esai entitled Augmented Reality-Based ebook to increase student interest in learning about human blood circulation, a literature review. Previously, my name is Tawallani Afiddah with student identification number for 001420045 from the Science Education Study Program, State University of Semarang. In here, there are points from Esai are introduction, method, result and discussion, conclusion, and reference. In here, there are introduction. Material in the human blood circulation is abstract or can't be observed directly, so that some students find it difficult to observe the material present by the teacher. Students are not able to reconstruct the material involving oxygen, lung function, etc. And then presents only conventional, so that learning is not effective and there is no interest of students during the learning process. And the teacher only use the tools provided from the school. And now students easier receive material with technology-based media. And then almost the problems experienced in every learning, one of which is the low interest in student learning, including in this material human blood circulation. And then augmented reality or ER is able to display virtual object into reality so that it can be developed into one of the learning media such as ebook with 3D animation feature. And the method that will be used in this article is using review of the literature. This review includes published research addressing in the form of a number of national journals and international accountability that can be accounted for through Google Scholar and published or perished regarding the use of augmented reality media to increase interest in learning about the human blood circulation. And from the picture, the stage that is carried out began with data collection for present the data, or after data collection then reduce the data, either summarizing or focusing the discussion so that the data is clearer. After that, it presents the data in the form of a description. For the last one is to conclude the final result. Next is result and discussion. Human blood circulation is divided into two, namely small blood circulation and large blood circulation. From the part of the blood circulation from this picture and these videos, their small circulation or pulmonary circulation begins from the dirty blood in the right ventricle of the heart is pumped out when the heart contracts to the pulmonary arteries. Will great blood circulation or body blood circulation, blood flows from the heart throughout the body and back to the heart. This great blood circulation is wider in its trajectory, so the material is difficult to see visually direct. And then student learning resources that are limited to teacher books, student book, videos, and picture on wall. And then the teacher teaching using the lecturer methods and asking question, responsibility, or conventional. The lack of intensity of using electronic media that support the learning process and only using the tool provided from the school. And then media as visual aids can encourage interest, motivation to learn, clarify, and facilitate abstract concept and enhance learning absorption or retention. And then augmented reality or ER is able to display virtual object into reality accompanied by audio and video processing so that it can be developed into one of the learning media such as ebook with 3D animation feature that helps students in the learning process, including in this material. Okay, from this picture, have you ever used augmented reality or AR on your phone? And this picture show that 44% people use AR and 54% people not use AR and 2% people not know about AR. Then AR book application in the ebook is needed to run augmented reality by downloading and installing the application on a smartphone. This AR development use the Unity and Vuforia application to be able to scan and then augmented reality based ebook design. It designed with B5 size and 1.15 space scale, 12 50 font size, and Cambria font. It accompanied by interaction for use and is subcapture will contain visual media. And then there are advantages of using augmented reality in abstract learning such as the human blood circulation from some article review. There are Astiti et al. 2018. Their AR is able to display the virtual world into the real world and can change object in the material into 3D object directs at the camera. So the working principle of marker-based augmented reality is quite simple. The smartphone camera will scan the marker used, then after recognize and marking the pattern, the camera will calculate whether the marker matches the database it has. And then there are Astutic et al. 2020, thus providing a great opportunity to learn science material because it emphasizes real-time and practical exercise. And then Retnaningtyas et al. 2021, this ER is very suitable to improve student learning to a safe mystery. And then there are Tambayong et al. 2016, ER is easy use, so makes everyone comfortable when using it. And Yulvarnia et al. 2021, the teaching and learning process with ER is more fun and interactive. So the use of this ER augmented reality has shown an increase in students' interest and motivation during the learning process about human blood circulation. And the last is conclusion. Augmented reality-based ebook will make students easier to understand the material of the human blood circulation. And then students can visualize human blood circulation in 3D and real time. And then the development of augmented reality-based ebook can be declared suitable and effective to be used as a reference for learning media to increase students' interest, motivation, and enthusiasm in the learning process. Okay, this is the reference from my article, and so thank you from all your attention. And then any question? Okay, Lisa, please ask your question?
Okay, permission. I also want to ask. From your presentation, the disadvantage of augmented reality-based ebook have not been explained. So can you explain it?
Well, thank you. Okay, I will answer. Maybe disadvantage, not too many marks, requires a lot of memory on the installed equipment and difficult determine point of view, etc. Because this media display virtual object into reality, and ER, augmented reality, is widely used in the field of gaming, medicine, and image processing, while in education is still rarely used. Okay, maybe that's my answer. Are there any other questions? Okay, Maya, please ask your question.
Explanation. I ask why should you choose augmented reality based of a book instead of anything else in this material common book circulation?
Well, thank you for your question. So I choose this because from the literature review, no students Asia receive material with technology-based media, such as this AR, augmented reality-based ebook, because AR is able to simplify things for user by bringing virtual information into the user real environment. And choose ebook because we can access easily via cell phone or laptop with enough storage. It's different when using non-electronic book. Okay, maybe that's my answer. Are there any other questions? Okay, Alya, please ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask from your presentation, explain it that with the media ER based ebook, it was able to increase student interest. How do we know that the material of human book circulation is accepted and understood by students?
Well, thank you for your question, Alya. I will answer. From my article review, there are several articles to show their success assessment was used pre-test and post-test, and most of the results show that after using this ER-based ebook, there is an increase in studies interest and understanding compared to without using it. So in this Esai, there are use pre-test and post-test. So maybe that's enough answer that I can answer. If there is a mistake, I'm sorry. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.